The one I seen, I didn't get to see its legs or its talons, but from the bottom of its belly to the top of its head, without the ears even added, was easy 6, 7 feet. And then
Holy
with
shit.
the ears were probably pushing a foot. They weren't, like I said, they were horned,
Oh
but
my God.
they were hooked in a little bit. And if I would, if this thing could stand on the ground and show its legs, it probably would have been in the 10 foot range, if I had to guess, at
Oh
least.
my God,
It,
dude.
it
Welcome back to the Outer Jupiter podcast. I'm your host, Tom Franklin. And this week we have on a Mr. James Faedtke. I think that's how you say that. Maybe it's Faedtke because it is AE, which is, at least what I know from the German language, is a umlaut. And he just has the old type spelling. And they would say in German, Faedtke. But it's probably Faedtke, Americanized. He has a very interesting story that we've been trying to get out quite a while. We somehow mixed up the days and he couldn't come on, but he's on today, and we're going to get into some stuff. And can't wait to hear his encounter. Um, so if you enjoy the show, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can do that right now. I'll wait. Good, thank you very much. And you can also catch me every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I have a live show where we have one interesting guest where you can interact, ask questions, and all the above. We have a lot of fun over there, so don't forget to come and check us out on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can also find me on Rumble. If you're on Rumble, you can go ahead and follow me on Rumble. You can also go on Spotify and download it. The audio version, if you're working, a delivery guy, you're at a boring job, you're a welder, you're doing whatever it is, you can listen to these interesting encounters and stories as well. So, with all that being done and said, I would like to introduce, or everyone say hello and welcome to the iJupiter podcast, Mr. James Faedtke.
How's it going, everybody? Hopefully, the signal remains good and we're able to hear me. I don't know. Are you
Let's
able to hear me
let's
now?
stay positive. The first things first. How do you pronounce your last name?
As far as I know, Fiki, but I'm not sure.
Faedtke? How do you say it?
Uh, as far as I've ever heard, it was fake key. But like you
Faedtke.
said, it might be Americanized and stuck that way after they came over on a boat.
All right. So, for the people who do not know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself. And if you're promoting anything, any whatever, you can go ahead and promote that as well.
Uh,
And if not, not as well. Just go ahead and tell me whatever it is you'd like to tell me about yourself.
yeah, I have zero channels or anything related to YouTube other than telling this a few times, and I don't normally tell it to most people that aren't close to me enough to know that I'm not messing around with them, because it's so unbelievable that I understand if anybody laughs at it that's listening on the other side, because it humbled me afterwards, and I've been in their shoes, so I understand if they're thinking
Okay, how
it's
long
made up
ago?
or something like that.
Sorry, James. How long ago was we're going to get into it, but how long ago did this happen to you?
This was back in like 2007, and
Okay,
actually it was like,
so 15, 16 years ago, something like that. No, 17, excuse me.
yeah, And the guy that claimed that he seen one before I did was, I'm not sure, at least 3 or 4 years beforehand. And that gave me plenty of time to just make fun of this guy. I assumed he was lying. I went to my girlfriend's little brother, who was actually friends with the guy, and asked if something was wrong or why he would make up lies, because he never tried to defend himself. He told a group of us one day after this happened, one night, he was leaving my girlfriend's little brother Dennis's house, and we were drinking that night, and that has a little bit to play with maybe why I didn't believe him. And yeah, he wears thicker glasses, so I didn't know how well he was able to see in the dark. But halfway through this trail, in between these two dead end, well, a bunch of dead end roads, he cut through the one directly after the house that he left. And halfway through, he thought there was a person hunched over in the trail doing something. So I believe he just said like, "Hello," or "Who is that?" And he said it actually stood up the rest of the way like it was hunched over, maybe eating or doing something, and it lifted. He said it was carrying something. He didn't know if it was a cat or a dog or a raccoon or what it was, but he said it looked over when it went right over his head. It like literally was no more than a foot, and it looked down at him. He said, and it screeched, and he's like, it was an owl, and it was 4 foot. He said it was 4 foot. So I
A four
sat
foot
there for
tall
a minute.
owl.
Yeah, and
Wow.
he told us to maybe 5, 6 of us sitting in the room, and this happened the next day after he left. He didn't come back after it happened. He kept going the opposite way, which was home towards his house after it happened. So he never was able to come back and tell us that night that this happened or anything. But yeah, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I was like, "Hey, man, why don't you show me where you've seen this at?" And I'm an outdoorsman. I'm a little bit of a hunter, a big fisherman, and I pay attention to details. So I was just kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt. I was just like, man, I hope there's scratches or blood or fur or feathers or something laying where he said this happened. And I didn't expect everybody in the room to get up because it was a hot day, and this was like in July, and we walked out there and there was nothing in the trail where he said it was, where he pointed or anything. But I'm glad he actually showed us where it happened at, and I never let it down. I'd see him at a house or a party we're leaving, and I'd be like, "Hey, don't let the 4 foot owl get you." I'd make sure I'd throw in my jab or my bad comment towards him, and he never really brought it back up or defended himself, other than me throwing those comments out there like that at him. And then we'll fast forward 3, 4 years later, me and another buddy are cutting through the woods to actually go to Dennis's house because he didn't live too far, so it was walking distance. And this was in March 2007. It was really early March, like the first week of March. So there
It
was
was
no
still
leaves
cold
on.
outside.
Yeah, well, it was like a warmer night for March, but yeah, it was still cold out to where there was no leaves growing on the trees yet. There was no foliage growing in the woods that blocked your view from looking from street to street. Like there was street lamps on each street, so you were able to see through this maybe 100-yard woods, but it was
Okay.
really long. They were really long dead end roads, but the woods themselves were only maybe like 100 yards in between each road, where there was rows of houses that were originally cottages, so they really like didn't plan that part out. But we were cutting through, and my buddy Josh. He was walking first, and we at the middle of this little strip of woods. It dipped down because there are ravines, that like glacial ravines, to where you got to jump over these ditches that have water in them, like in the middle of all of them. And we didn't quite make it to the incline, and we could hear something running towards us on the leaves. And I realized it was a mean pit bull dog that normally like runs around the neighborhood at times, and kids, kids get bit, bikes, cars. That's like how mean this dog is. So I caught a branch and was able to pull myself up right away. And Josh, at the last minute, was looking desperate, and I'm kneeling down on this branch. I was able to pull myself up on. I'm 6'1", so I'm a lot taller than Josh was. So I was able to grab a branch that he wasn't, and he was running out of time. So I'm kneeling down to tell him, grab my arm, I'll pull you up. And at the last second, he jumped on this little baby tree that was growing. He was able to climb it like a rope. but he was only able to get away like far enough to where the dog couldn't get him, because if he went higher, the tree was just going to bend over because it was so small.
Right.
And I mean, at that point, I'm kind of laughing that he did it, but I'm glad he like got away. And this dog's literally biting at his tree, and it would come over to my big tree and bite like at the bark and look at it, like make eye contact. And it was going back and forth for a good 5-10 minutes, trying to get one of us to come down or whatever. And the owner finally called for it, and it kind of like snorted the air at us and went back home. So I don't know if it was dinner time or what, and that saved us. We waited a good 10 minutes, climbed down, and we're just like, what the f? And we end up walking to Dennis's house, telling him what happened, and telling him if he sees his neighbor down a couple streets or down a couple houses, to not let that dog run around at nighttime, because somebody's gonna get like seriously injured because of how mean it is. And fast forward again, 2 weeks later goes by, and we're dumb enough to try again. Me and Josh, we're leaving his house. We haven't drank any beers or anything, and we're headed to Dennis' house just to see what he's up to. And it's nighttime. It's probably 9-10 o'clock. And as we're getting to about the same spot, except this time I'm in front, and we hear leaves rustling on the ground, and like, well, I don't know what he thought, but like my heart sank, because I was just like, oh no, like I can't believe we're dumb enough to do this, and it's happening again. And I didn't really have time to react, but I realized that it was a raccoon and not this dog, because we could see pretty good through the woods on the leaves, and it was running away from us, and we were glad about that, just because we just thought it was that dog, and we kind of put our guard down. And we got another few more steps towards the start of this incline that goes down into this ditch. And what we hear next is like loud wooden diving board noise. And it stops me in my tracks, because I'm putting it through my, this don't add up. Nobody's swimming March. And this is Northwest Indiana, so it's cold, real cold March. And nobody's definitely swimming late if somebody was going to dare to swim in March. And after that wooden diving board noise, I kind of turned around, looked past Josh, looked around, could see it good, and didn't really notice anything, and kind of looked back in front of me, looked around again. And then when I looked around the second time, I was able to notice that a branch behind Josh was still whipping up and down, and that's where the noise came from. Because the tip of it, I mean, this branch was it was on an oak tree, and we're talking at least probably 20 something long, like one of the first big main branches. So it is the cause of the diving board noise, and we don't hear another noise for at least another minute or two. So I'm super confused, thinking I don't know what's going on, but I guess we're going to continue walking. And I made a few more steps, and that's when I was still kind of on guard a little bit, looking around, because I just was confused, and I thought even at one point that maybe it was a bobcat, and I looked at Josh and told him bobcat, and he kind of rolled his eyes like, yeah, right, because bobcats really aren't in our area. But I was just trying to think of what would weigh enough to make the branch spring, but we never heard a noise hit the ground. So cat
Right.
really wasn't an option. But that was what I was reasoning with, I guess. I had nothing
Right.
to go off of. And yeah, like I said, I turned around, I was walking a couple more steps, and I could see a blur up above the tree tops, which these trees are a good 80, maybe 100 feet tall, like full grown mature trees, most of them. And I could see something above these tree tops, because there's no leaves like in any of the branches. What I think I see is like a ball, because it's night out. We got a dark night sky, but I could see the ball moving, and it was darker than the night sky. So that's what I was able, I guess, to notice it. And when I did, I completely stopped. It was about 2 weeks later, and then yeah, we hear this wooden diving board noise, and then we're just confused a lot. Me especially, because I'm trying to put it all together. I'm thinking maybe I'm saving our ass being out there, because it's so unnormal to hear, oh, tree branch make a loud noise and then be able to see it. And I'm not used to what I'm about to say we seen, but yeah, I started walking and I seen this ball of smoke that kind of stopped me in my tracks. And Josh must have stopped also because I couldn't hear him walking anymore because of all the dead leaves on the trail. Uh, I'm lucky it goes into slow motion, I guess, because everything at that point from the seeing the ball of smoke kind of went into milliseconds. And I'm kind of telling myself that I'm not believing what I'm seeing as it's getting closer. And I realize it's diving for me and not even Josh because he's behind me still. And this ball of smoke ends up coming through the treetops on a pretty steep angle, maybe 70, 75-degree type angle, like if it was going to make a real tight dive instead of being spread out over an area. And that was just because of these trees, I'm guessing. And it came straight down, or not straight down, but on that angle coming down. And I see two eyeballs in the black mass that are yellow, which I don't know. I feel a little bit better because I'm starting to see something more than a ball of smoke moving towards me. But at the same time, I'm still really confused, I guess, on what I'm looking at.
That's good.
And far away, I'm at this point through the treetops. Like I said, there may be 80, 100-foot trees. So at this point, it's maybe like 80 to 70 feet away, but it's coming down on an angle when I see these eyeballs. And the eyeballs from that distance look like they were easily baseball size, probably bigger because I'm staring at them from that high up as they're coming down towards me at this point, and I could see black centers in them. But like I said, everything kind of went into slow motion. I don't know on purpose or what, but thank God. And I could start to see rings around the eyeballs, the yellow eyes, and the eyeballs are starting to look more like softball size. And these rings that went around its eyes were probably as wide around as a volleyball at least, and that made them like 2-3 inches wide off the eyeball, but there was these black rings that stuck out, and the rest was a darker color on its face, but these black rings really stuck out. And at that point, I could start to see its belly, which was silver. And this part's going to be hard because I can't describe the type of silver that was on the belly. Like I've never seen that shade or type of silver before, and it looked just so shiny that I almost didn't want to take my eyes off it, and I had to like force myself to look back at the eyes instead of the belly because well that I didn't want to stop looking at it. That's like why my eyes were drawn to its belly over and over, and I'm like forcing my eyes back to its eyes to not look at its belly because I feel like I can't move now. And I look down for a second to see why my feet won't move and why I can't pick them up or what's holding them or what. And I don't see
Wow.
anything holding my feet. I don't feel anything extra than I can't, like if they were glued to the earth somehow. And I'm standing on dead leaves, so it's not like I couldn't just pick up my leaf and it was, or my foot and it was just stuck in something in the leaves. But I'd start to panic kind of at that point if it wasn't already super panic enough. And I turned real quick to see if Josh is still behind me. He could push me out of the way because I'm already past denial and I kind of believe in what I'm seeing. And I'm like, okay, I'm in danger and I'm literally seconds away from my end or something bad happening. And Josh, when I looked, I was able to turn my body like twist. Josh was probably about 15 feet away already at this point. He was hiding behind a bigger tree, which I don't blame him. And he had his head poked out around the side of the tree, and his eyeballs were just huge, like he was just staring at something he couldn't believe. I've never seen his eyes open like that big before. And yeah, it looked like they were gonna roll out of his head, like they were like at the point of that. And so I snapped back real quick because I know even if he wanted to help me or I could say something, he wasn't going to make it in time to be able to push me out of the way. And I'm still at the like towards the top of this incline, this hill. So the owl's coming towards me in a dive, and I don't want to end up lower than I am. But I end up thinking about how I can twist my body, and I seen Josh. So at one motion, I kind of twist to my left and dive, and then like in my head, I'm thinking I'm gonna make it a couple feet and crawl away and make it. And in real time, I dive, and my feet did come off the ground, but I landed like a foot away from where I was standing. Like when I did end up diving, it was literally like a belly flop, and my feet were only a foot away from where they started when I made this dive. And I flipped over real quick because I knew this owl was already within less than 30 feet, somewhere in 20. And I started to crawl up the incline more to get away from the direction it was coming. And I was doing like the crab walk where your feet are legs, or your hands and your feet are on the ground, your back's towards the ground, and you're kind of crawling around on those.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
doing that.
Yes.
I was doing that, but I was going up this hill, so I wasn't going very fast on top of doing this crawl. And thank God my left shoulder ends up bumping into the same tree that Josh climbed to get away 2 weeks previous. And I was able to reach around my head to my left side and swing my body around it to where I was now crouched, but at least this little tree was in between me and the owl coming. And at this point, it's less than like 20 feet away, and it had me dead to rights. And when it realized I got behind the tree, it pulled its head up from the dive motion, so I could really get a good look at its belly and like how shiny it was. And it opened its wings up because it was going to smack the tree in the dive motion, and it was using its wings to be able to like stop the momentum of the dive it was in. And its wings actually did. And I know this is going to sound crazy on top of what I'm saying, but from wingtip to wingtip, I'm saying 25 feet easy, no doubt, like not even thinking about it and guessing, but it was probably closer to 30 or maybe like a hair more. Like from
Wait, James, are you saying from? Trust me, I can see this has absolutely affected you. Your lack of eye contact.
Yeah,
You're
I had,
remembering this as if it were
I had
yesterday.
nightmares that
Are you
I can
telling me that from wingtip to wingtip, this thing is 30 feet?
Well, I'm saying I'll say 25 for sure, and I don't want to exaggerate it, but I'm saying it was probably closer to 30, maybe a few feet wider. I
Oh,
wasn't able to measure it, but I know how tall I am. I work construction, so I'm very familiar with a 12-foot
right.
board, an 8-foot sheet, a 2x4. So
Yes.
I'm really good with guessing a number if I had to. And I'm saying that it was
Okay.
30 foot plus from wing to wing, and its wings weren't black like the outside was. The wings were this like white camouflage snow pattern, kind of like almost like
Okay.
digital, but not digital. Like that's how it was, like sporadic. And when it opened these wings for some reason, and I'm higher than it because I'm on the incline, but I'm lower than it because I'm crouched down below the tree still. I mean, it's like
Okay.
that close to me when it opens its wings, where it's like right. It's not right above me because the tree's in between us, but it is right above me 6 feet over because it had to stop before it hit the tree and opened its wings like this to cup the air. And then it seemed like it seemed like it got lighter out. Like it don't seem like anybody turned on a light or a flashlight, but it was almost like somebody lit a small candle because of the brighten. Like you ever go out in the winter, like up north, and there's snow out, so you're able to see a little better because there's snow on the
Yeah.
ground at
Yeah.
night. Like if you were to walk outside. Well, that's kind of what it did. Like it made the area below the owl a little lighter because all this lighter color was now exposed instead of like it being on the inside of its wings. When it opened them, it showed me the full inside of its wings. So it somehow like got lighter in color over my area, I guess. At least it felt that way to me. Josh said it never did because Josh doesn't like to talk about it. When it's just me and him, he'll shake his head a lot of times for a yes or no answer, or like be really brief. And I even joke, I'm just like, man, it was coming for me the whole time. You didn't even have to worry like I did. Like you're acting like we got abducted, and yeah, that's just like Josh's stance. Like I joke around. I'm a funny guy. Even if I knew we were probably dying, I would joke around. That's like my personality, just
Mine too,
because.
man.
What can you do? But yeah, Josh acts like we got beamed up or something, and they probed him. It's like if he hears this, he'll probably laugh at it, but he don't care to talk about it much.
Well, maybe
But
if Josh ever watches this, if you'd like to, Josh, it's an open invitation. We can do it somehow where I don't know. You can just talk to me about it. We don't have to record it, dude.
I'll see. I'll let him watch it if he will, and hopefully I'm hoping he does because maybe he'll open up more about it than he ever really has with me. But
Okay.
he shuts up and he kind of shakes his head later on when we talked about it. But like I said, he was safe the whole time. And yeah, so this owl's like still not giving up. He's locked on to me. And now years later, after I had time to think about it, even right then about this, he was after the raccoon, and we scared away the raccoon. Which it wasn't like it was a personal thing. I took it personal because of how hard he tried. But yeah, it wasn't. I think he was originally after the raccoon we scared, and that was what he was doing. But yeah, I became the replacement dinner. But I was just saying he was out in front of this tree, and I got the tree in between me and it, and I could kind of hear the air finally. Like I never heard anything. I know owls don't make noise, but
Right.
when you look up later on, I had time to look up owl facts and learn more about owls because I became interested in about them just to see if maybe this was a mutated species or possibly a dinosaur species that missed any visible
Right. Like
encounter,
a or
no
an
science.
endangered
Yeah,
species.
no,
Right.
exactly. Like maybe that like came to mind, but I don't think so now that I've learned more about what's really kind of going on. But yeah, he actually made noise cupping his air when he put on the brakes because he had to. And I know owls don't make noise, and people will be like, owls don't make sounds, but this one cupped the air to put on the brakes, and I could hear that like almost like you'd hear a chopper way off in the distance, like whooping. Is
Oh my.
kind of what it sounded. Not like a motor noise or anything, but like the Huey, how it like whoops, and
Yes.
you can hear it more. Like if one was way off in the distance, is what the only way I can describe that noise is what it. Because even when I hear it, because I listen to shows about like military in Vietnam and history and stuff like that, and that kind of like messes with me when I hear the chopper in the distance. But anyway, sorry, I'm
No,
like
no, dude. That
branching
was
off.
no.
I'm just
Please,
trying to
please, by all
describe
means.
in detail
It's
the
your story, dude.
best way I can. But
It's your story.
when he's doing this, he's actually backpedaling himself, which is another not known bird fact, unless it's a hummingbird, aren't known to go backwards or backpedal as a duck or as a bird. I mean, and this thing backpedaled a little bit, gained its composure, and decided it was going to dip on its left side with its head to come around the right side of the tree that I had standing in front of it, like in between us. And I'm still crouched down like a duck walk, like you do, like military or whatever. But it's dipping its head now and trying to counter and come around the tree like it knew what its plan was. And I, at the right moment, made sure that tree was between me and it to where he couldn't come around without hitting the tree. And he backed up again and he got his composure and he came around its right side, which was my left, to show me that he can come that way, I guess. And when it did, I went and more to the right to block it. And when it did it one more time to the right, and when it did, I said out loud, "Oh God, this thing's not gonna stop." And after that third time, when I said, "Oh God," because I didn't know, I was already mentally and physically exhausted from the last 2 minutes of craziness that I didn't know how much longer I could go. I think so. I just said out loud, "Oh God, this thing's not gonna stop." And when I did, it literally turned it, and where it was at and the height wise, it moved its wings to where it turned around, where its back was turned towards me, kind of shot up without pushing off anything from its using its wings, and it sat up in a big oak tree, maybe 30, 40 yards away at the top. And there was, like I said, there was no leaves. And when this thing landed, it was physical. I could feel the wind when it was cupping its wings and then opened it. I could hear the branches that clanked together again. That, well, this one didn't make the diving noise because it didn't dive off, it landed. But when it picked this branch, it landed up at the top. I could hear all the other branches that were close, that were probably dead up at the top, but I could hear them clinking together, like smacking together like dead wood. And at this point, I'm kind of at overload, I thought, like, of what just happened. And I'm thinking it's taking a rest or a break. And we need to find a stick to defend ourselves because we don't have guns on us. We just thought we were walking to a buddy's house a couple streets over. And I'm thinking in my head, man, this thing's going to gain it's taking a breather and it's coming back down. And I'm telling Josh to pick up a stick. I'm not making eye contact with Josh because I'm staring at the most craziest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I don't want to lose track of it in the dark again. And so I told Josh again without looking at him, man, pick up a stick. We're going to fight our way out. And I already found one, but it wasn't big or nothing like even the size of a broomstick. But it was just something that was laying there. I figured I had to start with something. I could always throw it at it maybe. But
Right.
Josh is telling me to look at something, and I'm kind of ignoring him because I'm not losing track. I don't want to take my eyes off of where the owl's sitting at. And when it's sitting up there, it looked like if you could squeeze a 400-pound man in a Batman costume because its ears were so predominant. When it was like blacker than the night, I could see its silhouette so good because it's got pointy ears and it's just this big circular mass. The ears are hooked in a little more than you would like imagine Batman's ears to be, and they're a lot thicker.
Okay.
They're more like horns. And
Okay.
hold on, my phone. My phone was messing me about storage running out. Um, so I keep eye contact with it, and I'm just continuing to tell Josh maybe 3 4 times, and I'm getting a little irritated because he's still trying to tell me something, and I'm thinking, what in the f could be more important than what's going on right now, Josh? And we've never like fought or argued. We're pretty good friends, and he starts tapping my shoulder because he wants me to look bad at whatever he's looking at. And finally, I turned and I looked at him for a second and was like, "What?" And then you see him pointing behind us. And when I see him pointing behind us, there's five. I can't remember for sure. Five, maybe six of these things spread out behind us. They're all about almost 3 foot tall, all about the same size, like they were a set of babies. None of them had the pointed ears, not even a little point, because how dark they were versus the sky, like around them, even though it's night, you could see perfect silhouettes. So Josh looked behind us when he had time and I didn't to realize there was five more behind us, but they were nowhere near the side. I call the one the mom because I feel like the mom was trying to feed the babies the raccoon, and I became the replacement because of that. But that's what I figured was going on, and I doubt this owl's ever missed a meal or a target in
Yeah.
its life. And I think it was pretty irritated that I was a human and I got by. Who knows? God probably is the reason why I'm here today. Maybe it was because he gave me the ability to get behind a tree. Maybe it was because I said his name out loud. But I'm pretty sure that's why I'm here today. But yeah, I didn't think I could go into panic mode even more than I already was when Josh pointed out. I was like, man, this fucking. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. These effing things
No,
were
no, it's fine.
gonna they were gonna eat me is like kind of what I mumbled, I think. And I told Josh we just got to run. And when I look back at the big one real quick, because this all happened so quick. This time the big one was lined up more with the street lamps. So when it turned to face me and did the infamous, I'll like look behind it because it was sitting the whole time with its back turned up in this tree. I never was able to see the yellow eyes or anything. When it finally was mad that it couldn't get me from around the tree, when it sat up there, it had its back turned like a cat would be, like when a cat's
Right.
annoyed with a human and it just like wants to ignore. Well, when it turns around to do the infamous like owl look, its eyes now reflected red, which took it up
It's
somehow another notch. And I know for sure they were yellow when it was coming towards me, but I'm pretty sure the orange street light that it was lined up with was the reason why they were now this shiny, weird red that people say they see sometimes at nighttime with a flying humanoid or creature. So it made me wonder how
yeah,
many
heart
times
racing.
it made me wonder how many times the Mothman possibly could have been misidentified. I'm not saying all, maybe there's a Mothman as something separate, but maybe some of these Mothman sightings are like people freaking out, like because they didn't even get an up close view, like I did, and they didn't even know it was an owl. They just said they seen something black flying and it had orange eyes or red glowing eyes, and maybe some of these. I started looking at Mothman encounters as best I could. I'm not much of a detective, but I wanted to know how many reports like had that red eye shining, and I was able to read more to see if it had
How
anything to
many
do with what I
how many
see.
like other encounters have you heard other than your own and the other guy you were talking about?
Um,
Have you heard about any
I
other
kn-
giant owl
I had a
attacks?
person. Oh yeah, I had a personal friend that lives in the same town that came to me 2 years later, and I'm pretty good friends with him. But he heard about it, and I don't even think it was through me. It was somebody else that I told that was close to me that was telling him, which didn't bother me. But I don't openly tell many people like just because they're gonna think, all right, you belong somewhere, not like this
No, you
happened to
belong
you.
where
You
you are,
belong
man.
in one. Well, no, I
You
mean like
belong
you
where you
belong
are,
in a
dude.
you belong in a padded room versus like if you're that
I'm gonna tell
crazy
you.
seeing stuff.
I'm gonna tell you right now, James. This YouTube channel, this community, quote unquote. I'm gonna tell you right now. We believe you, dude. I believe you too, dude.
Well,
I've
thank you.
I've had other
I
guests on here.
appreciate
You
that.
know, no worries, man.
I know we're not like personal friends to where if we worked together for a while and you were to know me, I would tell you this maybe, and you'd be like, "Holy cow, that happened!" But I
Yeah.
appreciate you believing me.
Well, I'm a pretty good
Oh,
welder, man. I mean,
I know you
I'm a
got a
certified welder. Maybe I will work with you eventually.
yeah, well, yeah, hopefully. I mean, I'm in construction, but you never know when people's paths cross. But
What I was trying to say,
um,
James, is that here we believe you, I'm not saying that because it's a thing to say. I can see the duress in your eyes. I can see like your body language, and you definitely experienced this, and you definitely seen this. So just relax, man. You're fine with me. I
yeah,
promise.
it messed with me, man. I had nightmares for years because of it, and it was weird how
Oh
they
wow.
stopped. It was weird how I had them. I still remember most of them. I could even explain those to you because it's stuck with me. Something I just don't forget. But
Sure.
as far as my buddy, he came to me about 2 3 years after people found out, a few like our friends or whatever, that this happened to me, and he just came to me and he's like, "Hey, I believe you," and I was like, "About what?" And I didn't know that he knew because I didn't tell him personally. And he's like, "I heard you seen an owl that was over 4 foot tall," and he's like, "I had a cat and I was walking to my brother's house and it would follow behind me. It wasn't quite an adult cat. It was still like adolescent, like mid-year old cat or whatever. I guess it wasn't like
Right.
a
Right.
full grown one." But he said he turned around because he heard something. The cat kind of like make the distress noise or whatever, and he's like, "Man, I'm pretty sure it was a 4 foot black owl." He grabbed it and he was already flying away with it. I seen him. He's like, "There wasn't nothing I could do." He's like, "I didn't have my gun on me or anything," and he was like, "I like
So you would
the cat,
describe
but
this
there's
thing
just
one more
nothing
time
I
to
could
go
do."
back to the description. So you would say this thing is over 4 foot tall, has a
Sure, it was
wingspan of at least
some
25
no,
feet, and weighs
that
about
was
400
that
pounds.
was no, that was no, that was the size of the one the guy seen, 4 foot tall, and that was the size of the one my buddy seen after he got back to me a couple of years and he heard. But the one I seen, I can't honestly say that I remember its legs or its feet or seeing even its talons. I want to do uh, hypnosis regression to see
Right,
possibly if
regression
I
therapy.
can
Yes.
remember it, and I'd be willing to let somebody record it, like if you wanted to record it while I did a physical regression session and they could ask me and you could ask me and I'm going to have a list of questions I want them to ask me. But yeah, I'd let
Okay.
you record it, man, if you wanted it, just to
I don't know
do it
anybody
for
who does
myself
that.
and
I,
to see
I
what
don't
I
know anybody
might
who does
have
that,
been
but
in
if
shock and possibly
yes,
forgot.
Absolutely. A little. So, if anybody out there who watches this show, contact me through the
Right, I
iJupiter,
don't personally either. I definitely
iJupiter
want
podcast.
somebody,
Okay.
somebody that, I was saying I wanted somebody that like professional certified doctor only.
Yeah.
I want someone that's
Oh, oh, there he goes again. Ah, I don't know about you guys, but this story has got me feeling something, man. This just gentleman has gone through something, and he is being. I don't know. I guess I'm doing something right for a person to reach out to me and say, I want to tell you this. That means the world to me. Um, he's having a lot of, um, you can see that it's affecting him, and and so he's saying this thing is bigger than 4 feet tall. I think he said it looked like 400 pounds with a 25-foot wingspan, glowing eyes, paranormal like. Uh, it it came in as a gust of smoke, and then you see like the eyes the size of I think he said it was a hard ball, and then he's seen the eyes were glowing yellow and they were size of softballs, and then he's seen this big rings, like an owl will have that outside part, and those were the size of beach balls. So you're talking something. I can't even picture this. I hope he comes back on to finish up the conversation. There he comes. Let's put him back on stage. Here we go. Oh, so let's cross our fingers. James, you there?
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back, dude. You're back.
Okay.
We were talking about
I was
possibly
glad I
getting
was
someone.
able.
Yeah, dude. Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it.
Oh no, the hypno-regression. Yeah, I was just seeing if one day I'd be willing to let somebody record the hypno-regression session just so it's recorded to ask about, because this isn't the only thing that's happened to me. Several stuff has happened afterwards, but the owls just once. But I did want to know more if I could. But I was telling you about other people that seen it in my area. So
right.
a few other people seen it 4 foot, but I was saying the one I seen, I didn't get to see its legs or its talons, but from the bottom of its belly to the top of its head, without the ears even added, was easy 6, 7 feet. And then
Holy
with
shit!
the ears were probably pushing a foot. They weren't, like I said, they were horned,
Oh
but
my god!
they were hooked in a little bit. And if I would, if this thing could stand on the ground and show its legs, it probably would have been in the 10-foot range, if I had to guess, at
Oh
least.
my god,
It,
dude!
it, it looked like if it was a tree, like standing there, the belly. I mean, I don't know how much of it was just like for show as far as feathers and how fluffy it was, but it looked like one of those trees you ain't getting your arms around unless you had like two people to go around it. That's like how fluffy it looked. It might have been all show and it might have been skinny. I'm not sure. I didn't
Right,
get to hug
but
it.
it's definitely paranormal. Okay, whatever it is, if you
Yeah,
seen it, you were
what I
telling me
was
it was a
looking
ball.
for came here, or what I was looking for afterwards, because I took it personal. I loaded up and was out there because I didn't have kids when this happened, and I'd be out there on weekdays, I'd be out there on weekends. Sometimes Josh would be with, sometimes he wouldn't. I'd throw hot dogs out there to bring the raccoons around, but I sat loaded with a gun with a extended mag in it because I took it personal. I told Josh if we bagged it, I didn't want to kill it, and I wanted to sell it to like a university or a college, and that way they can study it or whatever if the government didn't take it away anyway.
They
But
probably would.
right, that's what I'm guessing later on. They would have stepped in, and I've been told by people to not talk about it too much because they might knock on my door. So I don't know if it is
Yeah,
connected
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll
to them
definitely try to keep you.
somehow.
Yeah, we'll try to keep you safe from that because there seems to be there's definitely a connection when you run across these things and talk about them. They tend to want to mess with you for whatever
I'm
reason.
glad I'm glad you caught me when you did, because it's like I've had a few times to talk to people that weren't close to me and feel a little more at home, or not on edge as much, I guess,
Yeah.
about explaining
Oddly
it
enough, you
or
put me on
whatever.
edge though because
I feel like
you.
the more I talk about it, because it was like I held it in for so long. I told a few friends and I wanted to know more, but there was nothing I could do. I didn't know there was people that even took paranormal stories, and when this happened, and I felt like I should tell somebody, but at the same time I wasn't calling the police. I wasn't calling
Why
like
did you?
the
I mean, I was
Discovery
kind of
Channel.
James. I was talking about this in the point where you bumped out, and I was trying to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why did you? Well, no worries. Why did you choose me?
Just because you originally, it was someone brought up God, and I felt like I had the strength to not be scared to tell it, even though I knew everybody was probably gonna laugh at it. That's the original reason why was able to tell somebody on YouTube or whatever about it, because the
Okay.
fact that I'm a believer in God, and I felt like for a second I wasn't so scared to come on to tell it, because I just felt like it. I felt like I would always watch what I could, and I didn't have many shows or channels to pick from, but I was trying to hope to learn more. I guess
Yeah.
just to hear
Yeah.
other people say, "Hey, I seen the same thing." That's what like everybody says. Yeah, I seen Bigfoot. Some people are even saying, "Yeah, I seen Dogman or this werewolf thing." But it's
Oh
like then
yeah. Pterodactyls.
there's
I've heard
me that
pterodactyls. All kinds of stuff. But
right,
this is
but
the
there's
first
like
time I've heard of a 10-foot
right, you
owl.
don't hear too many people talking about, and if they do, maybe they seen one and it wasn't close enough for them to properly identify what they seen. But shortly, I don't remember if I answered your question though, whatever you asked me.
Which was yeah. Why did you choose like to tell me? I think that was a
Oh,
question.
okay. Because I heard you. I was on Texas show watching it live. Had time, wasn't working, and at the
Shout
end,
out to Tex.
well, yeah, I caught your show or you on there with him, and then I heard you say something about you if anybody had anything to do with an owl or seen these giant owls, that you would love to hear more. And for some reason, I did
I tell you what, James.
zone in
I've
on that.
seen
I guess.
I've seen. Okay, when I was talking about that, I've seen it on a documentary. I'm gonna look it up for you as soon as we're off the air, and I will send it to you. It was a
Okay,
documentary
thank you.
somewheres in, I think it was Ohio, West Virginia, and they were talking about this like house of this woman who was like demonic, or she had a demonic possession, and they were some reason talking about large birds. I'm talking about
Okay,
big
that wasn't
owls.
the Pine Barrens and Jersey Devil, was it?
No. This was
Okay.
somewhere else. This was somewhere else. And then like I got to look it up. I'll find it. And that
All
way,
right,
I mean,
yeah, it's
because
new to me. I haven't heard that one.
if you guys have any stories for James, because this is probably very cathartic for you. It's very difficult for you, but it's cathartic. The getting it
Yeah, like
out
I
and
said,
having
I
it.
feel more comfortable. But yeah, it's something that makes me want to smoke cigarettes when I explain.
Yeah, man, dude. I mean, when I had my poltergeist encounter, no one believed me. My family, only people believed me were the people
Yeah,
who were there, and then we
yeah.
didn't talk. Well, me
Thank
and my
God you had
sisters
them.
talked
I had
about it.
that same thing. At least
Yeah,
somebody
but
with me
poltergeist
has
is more
seen it.
common. Poltergeist is more common than what you dealt with. I mean, I would.
Right.
Oh man, I don't know what I would have done. I would definitely would have shouted out for God myself, and probably helped you in your faith nonetheless doing that. So maybe we can get into like the dreams that you were having. Like you were saying, you were having dreams.
Okay. I'll get to them, but I just wanted to say one more thing that I was going to. Um,
Sure.
and somewhere I'm working construction. I'm framing houses all the time, and we got the radio on listening to Q101, which is a Chicago station, and DJ's doing the reports or whatever for the news on the channel. And it's kind of like alternative music, whatever. But she actually says that there's been Mothman sightings now in Chicago, and while this was happening, it wasn't just one or two or five. I heard it's like closer to 30 people reported a flying black creature, but some of them actually reported seeing wing membrane on them and actually humans flying with them. So I don't know if a bunch of something's got released or let out, or if
Oh,
a
you mean like by the government or
portal.
something?
maybe, or a portal. I'm not facts here. I'm just questioning. If a portal
Sure.
opened and things possibly came through, which is kind of my belief, they might originally came from somewhere else, and they come here to eat just like Bigfoot and these other things. It seems like, and then they kind of dip back wherever they're from. But it's odd they don't have food where they're from, and they come to our plane of existence to get stuff. But before I get sidetracked and can answer your other question, so all these reports started coming in the Chicagoland area that anywhere near the O'Hare Airport, even the tower people were getting fired for talking about it, I guess, and saying stuff. Police, I guess, witnessed it. Another guy said, "Hey, I seen a black owl that was bigger." And actually, his wife said it was a black owl that was bigger than her husband. Her husband's 6'4", and they're about less than a mile off of Lakeshore in Lake Michigan, off of right there the city. And they said it tried to get somebody on the boat, and the only way to get it to go away finally was the husband was swinging at it with a big net, like a big fishing net or whatever, and that's what deterred it to fly back towards the city. But they claimed it was a
God.
black owl that was over 6 foot. Well, she was saying her husband was 6'4", and this thing was larger than it. A lot of other people were saying black wing thing. A few Mexican people said, "Hey, it's a lechuza, which is a shape shifting witch because of its size," which I'm not sure. Maybe it is. I'm part Mexican, but the guy
Oh,
Kevin
okay.
that seen it, the guy that
Well,
seen it before me, he wasn't Mexican, so I kind of crossed that off my list as far as being a bloodline thing.
so you speak Spanish, or
I'm starting to learn.
okay,
My
just like me.
girlfriend does. Well, yeah, my girlfriend does. So we try to
So
teach
does
each
mine.
other. Uh, but
And pretty much in a very broken English, but we're getting we do pretty well. We're
yeah,
getting there.
with the translator we get by. But
Yeah. So
yeah, a lot of
yeah.
people
So
were having these reports. I guess in Chicago, I don't know how many police reports were filed. Maybe 15. I heard. I don't know how true that is, but a lot of them were all black flying things. Some had the red eyes, some didn't. Some people said they seen the owl. Some people said they seen a person flying, which I imagine it kind of does have the shape of a person when it's flying over a city. But some people said it had the wing membrane, so maybe there was a whole lot of something different going
well,
on there. But I'm only 50 miles from Chicago where this happened to me, and where Kevin, the other guy, said he's seen a 4 foot owl. Thank God he showed me where it happened. Was like 15 feet away from the tree where it happened to me and Josh. And I was like, man, that's crazy.
oh, so
So
wow. So
I don't
have
know if they
you?
stopped in that woods
Okay.
for a Burger King snack, like they're pulling off the highway when they're migrating. If if that's what's going on, I thought that for a long time. I was dealing with like an undiscovered species, but then after I started hearing all these weird reports and learned about Dogman and all this other stuff going on, I was like, man, that's paranormal, and there's probably a portal opening, which I've been told numerous times, 4 or 5 by psychics, that the thing came out of a portal, and that's why I was able to see it. And it's attracted
Wow.
to my frequency. Has came up quite a few times. That from now on, now stuff kind of follows me and attracts to me. But and it seems like that's the case. But I don't know if falling from the tree is what did it. But no, I'm sorry. I just wanted to get into other people, and there is, if you look into it, there is other people within 50 miles of where it happened to us having reports done with cops. I don't know how many seen it that didn't report stuff like we did though.
Okay.
But now, yeah, I'll answer your question about the dreams if you don't have any.
Yeah, dude. I was. It's just. I think it's very interesting that you might be piecing together. That you possibly are. I mean, who knows? All this open for interpretation. Anyone who says that they're an expert is, lying,
Right, I
or
just
full of
putting together
themselves.
what I've learned or
Which you
seen
kind
along
of.
the way.
This is what I want to do with the channel too. Is like, let's try to figure out what's going on, because I have spoken to a Mothman person. I do not remember someone who's experienced a famous one in Point Pleasant. I don't
Right,
remember
a
them
lot of
talking
those
about
people
large
don't.
birds.
Right, they don't get to see it up close like I did.
Yeah,
Like that, I don't
this
think
thing was
that thing's
literally,
ever missed a meal in its life, and
it was on the other side
I
of a
don't know. At
tree.
least, at least, right. It was just mad that little tree was between us, and I've gone back and thanked the tree many times I have a picture of it somewhere because I brought my kids there and everything and was like, hey, you guys are here today because of that little tree. Yeah,
Oh my god, dude. Oh man, you and I definitely. If I ever go up there, we're gonna hang out, dude. That's for sure. You're
definitely,
my kind of
definitely,
guy,
man.
dude.
I'll
For
be able
real,
to
dude.
show you step
I
for
would
step
definitely
where it
go see
happened
that.
at.
Oh my god, that would be
I'm a
amazing.
smart ass. If you see a smart ass comment like in the comments on one of the shows, I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but I am a
No,
smart ass.
no, dude. I know you. I've
It's
seen
just
you, and you always know, dude. No,
my only way of life I've learned to get by is to laugh even when everything goes wrong.
exactly, because that's the time in which you do it. You know, right after a death, that's when I start joking
Right.
the
That's
most
when you
because
need to do
that's
it.
how I
Because,
deal with it. Right, right. People don't understand that. They think you're being disrespectful, but like, no, I'm not. It's just, it's actually being
uh,
disrespectful for me to telling me to not be who I am and to be like you, and that's not who I am. So I understand.
right.
Nah, dude. Dude, you can write whatever you want to on there as long as you're not attacking anyone, which you're not into. But you're going to say some goofy,
Right. No,
goofy
no,
shit
I'm
that's
not
funny
into
and
that. And if
pertains to the
somebody's attacking
conversation.
me,
Who
I don't
cares?
even promote fighting against them. I just would block them or not ignore it or whatever. I don't have
Right.
time for drama. I don't play that game.
No, me either. I really don't. Uh, the recording at this time of recording, there's some big doings in the whole paranormal podcast world, and I'm doing my best to kind of keep my distance from it because it is just it's weird. I this is what I enjoy the
Sorry
human
for the
interaction and the connection.
sorry for the chain smoking and the Red Bull drinking, but yeah, it's
Don't
what
worry
gets
about
me
it, dog.
by.
Don't worry about it. I'm over here drinking some Mexican tea and smoking Mexican cigarettes. I'm down here smoking. Well, they're in it. I just finished my Camels, and I'm going to go
Some
to Faros, which is
Mexican Thai
yeah.
tea.
No, it's like a lemon tea. It's kind of like Lipton, but way better.
Okay.
It's called Reka. It's only from this
No,
area.
no
This
leche
is not
in
a
it,
big
right?
no leche. No tengo leche
No milk.
no en mi
Well,
tea. Yo
some
no tengo
people
eso.
put milk in their tea.
Oh, I do if it's hot tea, but not this stuff. This is cold tea, man.
Oh,
It's
okay.
only it's
Cold
made
brew.
right here. It's made right here in the town that I live in. It's
Nice.
very good. If it ever
You
goes
know,
out into America, this will hit.
I,
It's
I was
incredible.
gonna say, it's made good there. By the time it gets here, the FDA will do whatever they can to not make it good.
Have you ever done stand up, dude? The way you said that was so funny to not make
Yeah,
it good. It's hilarious. You could have
yeah.
said anything, and like,
No,
don't take
my
it the
only
wrong way, but
audience is my kids. Usually, they think I'm funny, but
yeah, just dude, you should do it. I've been doing it for oh god, off and on for
oh, you
7
actually do
years.
it? Nice.
Yeah, dude, I've done stand up in English, in
You
German,
know what?
and I do it in Mexican or in Mexico, in
They've
Spanish.
had
So
open mic nights like in bookstores and stuff. They used to, and I actually thought about it. I was like, man, these people would think they'd have an ambulance truck waiting for me if I told them the owl story on the open mic night in here.
oh, they got like a straight jacket out front just waiting for you.
Yeah, just ready to collect me after I'm done telling my story, or just one of them even.
Okay, that's
But
that,
no,
dude. You're doing. You see, you got a little smile on your face now.
yeah,
This is great.
I'm
I
feeling
just
more
want you to know,
comfortable. Yeah,
yeah, dude. When you first got on, you were definitely a little sketch.
right.
But I was like, but
Yeah,
he's
I
telling the
didn't even
truth.
like to make eye. I mean, between thinking and making eye contact, and yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's
it's
why
a
I would
lot.
never do the stand up thing. It's not my
It's a lot.
style. I'm not looking for any fame, but yeah,
It's just fun to do. That's why I enjoy it.
I
It's
imagine
art.
too. It takes a lot of guts. Like I try to take myself out of the comfort zone. That's part of another reason I've come on done these.
Yeah, dude.
Like I said,
Well,
a
you're
couple
in the right
times.
place. I hope. I hope you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Let's okay. Before I get
The
you up out of here,
dreams,
let's go
the
into the
nightmares.
dreams a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, the nightmares. So this has been
Yeah.
17 years now coming, and the way you remember it, it must have been playing over and over and over in your mind.
Well, yeah. There was a lot of nights after that where I would wake up like sweating and yelling something or just popping up out of the bed. And at this point, I'm with Dennis's sister for years after that even happened. And there's been tons of nights where she would just be like the owl. And I'd be like, yeah, because she's a light sleeper and she'd wake up because I would be up or something. And she'd just know that that's what it was for her. So at least I had like a comforting person, I think, to help me deal with it even at
Oh
nighttime
yeah, okay, okay,
when
dude.
I'd wake up. But yeah, a lot of times it was just like the sudden I'd see these eyeballs again in my dreams, and then boom, it would like hit me, and that's how I'd wake up. Like it would actually get me kind of like I wouldn't feel any slicing or talons or anything. It would just like slam into me, and then that momentum would wake me up like in real life, to where I'd be either sweating or sitting up in the bed or whatever because I just felt
Wow.
like I was
So you had
that.
actual like PTSD because of this thing.
I did for a long time. I think it finally kind of settled down, but because of the dreams possibly. So
Right.
then, uh, after that, I have a dream. Well, many years after many of those, I finally have one where my truck breaks down out in the middle of like country and farmland in the dream. And the dream's one of those dreams where like I fish a lot, so I'm looking in the irrigation ditches to see if there's any fish swimming around as I'm walking away from my truck that broke down. I don't have a phone. I don't have any way to like do anything. So I started walking, and in this dream, it feels like a full day. Like I literally spent almost walking and looking at land and ditches and stuff till I get to this farmhouse. When I get to this big farmhouse, I knock on the door. Why I don't ask the farmer if he has a phone, I have no idea. But I knock on the door and I ask him, I'm like, hey, can I stay the night? It's getting dark. My truck broke down. I'm going to keep walking in the morning. I won't mess with anything. I'll get out of here. And the farmer agrees to let me sleep in the barn. And at this point, it's like now night in my dream. I'm laying down in this barn that has no lights, and I'm just like laying on straw on the floor or whatever. And I hear something on the roof. So I'm not thinking, for some reason, I'm not thinking anything about the owl. And I walk outside in the dream, and the owl's standing on the peak of the barn. And the farmer's got a porch light on, so I'm able to like see pretty decent at night. The owl flies down and turns his back to me, and I'm like confused because I want to see its face more in the dream now. I want to, even though it's like 20 feet away from me with its back turned, I don't feel like threatened anymore. But
Uh-huh.
I'm like, curiosity kills the cat. I want to see what its face looks like before I wake up. Is like what I'm thinking, kind of. And
Oh, so you know
uh,
you're dreaming.
yeah, I realized at that point when the owl comes that this is all a dream and not happening. So the owl lands on the ground in front of me, probably 20 feet away, and turns its back. And I'm dying to see its eyes and its belly again, I don't know if to relive it or just to be able to see it again without asking myself.
Right. Like to prove it to yourself that you've
Yeah,
seen
I
it.
just want to double check that's the same as the one I seen had. And it looks at me, it turns its head and looks at me, and then turns its back again for some unknown, God known reason. I walk over to the owl and I get on the owl's back. And I know I'm dreaming, and I've never flown in a dream like on an animal or a dragon or anything like that. So now the owl flies up, and the farmer's coming out the door looking at me being on top of the owl flying away. I could kind of see my town miles away, and for some reason, the owl knows to fly towards my town, drops me off in the yard that I'm living at. Now at this point, it has like a cloak, not like like almost like a scarf or a like a hood, like almost if it had a half a hooded sweatshirt on. Is what the owl's got on its head, and they dropped me off. So I'm thinking, I'm not even relating the owl as being bad anymore, like in my dream. And I don't know if this is starting to help me or what, but um, I don't see him like as a threat, and I take the hood off because the owl standing in front of me when it dropped me off, and I pull the hood down, and when I pull the hood down, it's my mom's head, and I'm sorry, I gasp and I
Mhm.
wake up, and I'm still there with living with Dennis's sister as my girlfriend, and I'm telling her about it or whatever, and she's like, that's crazy." So then I call my mom the next day. I'm kind of telling her about it, and I never really told my mom about the owl, and she's just like, "Wait, what's going on?" My mom believes me now, but this is like the first time I'm bringing it up to her and telling her about the dream. So
At
she
the
like,
same time, right?
yeah, she's just like trying to understand what's going on, knows I'm not gonna call the BS her for anything. And yeah, I'm just telling her about it or whatever. So then the owl dreams kind of go away. I don't have them anymore after that.
Wow.
And then I saw it like I don't know if like my mom was associated, so I would no longer be scared or have the PTSD of this owl. Like maybe that was what it took for me to stop dreaming about it, thinking about it every day. Even though I'm at work, I'm not like obsessing over it, but it's going through my head once a day, sometimes twice, sometimes not at all. But I'm thinking about it daily. So I don't know if that like in my dream associated my mom to
Mm-hmm.
where it was no longer a threat to me. Like God said, stop having nightmares, or maybe I asked to stop having nightmares, and that's what it finally took. But
Mm-hmm.
then my first son was born, and when my first son was born, I had a dream that the car broke down with my ex-wife, and she actually seen something fly in front of the car when my son was pregnant, and called me crying because she thought that was what she seen, which was making it kind of extra spooky. But the car breaks down, and I start walking, and this thing starts dive bombing us. So I tell him, I'm like, you guys got to run ahead because I just had the one son at that point. I was like, you guys got to run ahead, and it's looking for me, so I'm just gonna stay behind, and I'll deal with it. So they take off in my dream, so they're no longer like in view or anything, and I start running because it's dive bombing me, trying to get me on the road going into the town we live on, which has like not very many street lights. And I get up to the first house that has a light, and I'm banging on the door like a madman, which is really there in like real life in the spot. And I'm banging on the door like a madman, trying to get them to answer the door. And when they answer the door, they're not in a hurry to open it for me. And at that point, the house slams into my back, into the door, and it was like a security door. So it like kind of slams into me, and I wake up right then and there. And this happens about a year after my son was born. So I don't have
Wow.
any more dreams again. And then about a year after my daughter's born, I have a dream we're playing outside, it's just me and those two. And for some reason, I go back in the house to grab something, and I wouldn't leave. They're so young at that age. I wasn't ever gonna go out, leave them outside and go inside for something. Well, when I come back out, the owl's flying away with my daughter. It ain't as big as the one that I seen, but it was like the 4 foot size ones, and it's flying away with my daughter, and it just has her hanging like on its talons. And I run back in the house and I grab my gun because I have no plan, and I'm thinking I'm just gonna shoot it and catch my daughter because he's sitting up on a tree branch that's pretty high up. And that's like my only plan. And when I run back in the house to grab my gun, he's flying away from that tree branch, and I just start bawling my eyes out because the owl flew away with my daughter, and it's just me and my
Wow.
son like sitting there. Yeah, I'm literally like crying my eyes out because I don't know what I can do. What like it's too late, and I
Yeah,
snap
dude.
out of it. I wake up and I'm just like bummed out because I was like, thank God she's still here, and that didn't happen or whatever because it felt. And that day it was light out. It wasn't even night. Normally the owl would come in night dreams, so I didn't expect it, and it was kind of like really overcast out, and I remember it being like almost like a yellow tint to the overcast. It was weird. But so then I don't have any more dreams for a long time. And then a year after my last son is born, which is 6 years old now, uh, I now moved to the city out of the town that this happened in.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have less worries because I live in the only part of the wooded area of the city, like on the outskirts. But I feel like since I moved to the city, I no longer have to worry about the stuff that worried me in that town, like it taking my kids or doing stuff or coming after me or
Okay.
anything. Somehow I feel that the opposite. Like people don't feel safer because they moved to the city. I felt safer because I moved away from the woods and like felt like I can deal with people, but I'm not able to completely deal with this.
Right.
And I have an injury, a neck injury, and we're a 17-foot board. 2x6 came down and cracked me on the end of the head, and it took a while for
Oh.
the injury to like lock me up. But like 4 years later, I kind of really locked up from it, and the doctors were telling me to stop doing what I was doing, which made it worse too. But so I was having a real bad time. I was staying up sometimes 48 hours to go to sleep for 4 or 5, and
Wow.
yeah, and it wasn't like a once in a while thing. It was like every other set of like days, and so it was just me. They were staying at their grandparents' house with my ex, and it was just me that night staying in the house in the city that I bought. And I hear something tapping on the window, in the back window in the back room. So, and this is me dreaming. So I go to the window, and it's nighttime out, and I just fell asleep. I don't even realize that I finally just fell asleep after being up. Something's tapping on the window, and when I open the window, boom, those two yellow eyes just come slamming right to face, like it almost busted the window out, like if the
Right.
owl just slammed into the window. But and then I like have almost like a panic attack, and I have the window still open, and I look out the window more because it doesn't just like stay by the window; it flies away after it slams into the window, like it was just messing with me. I look out the window, and it's actually the ravine in the woods where it all happened at, out my back window, where when I'm living in the city, instead of it being my yard, it's the same place
Damn,
where
dude.
it all happened
This
at.
this is
And then
insane,
I
man.
wake,
How much this has affected you.
yeah, yeah, and then I wake up, and when I wake up, man, I swear to you, it looked like somebody threw a 5 gallon bucket on top of me before I woke up. And I remember looking at the time because I really didn't think I was going to fall asleep. And I'm pretty sure all that happened within 10 minutes. I know that they say you got to go to sleep for so long for REM and certain
Right,
stuff
right, right.
to happen in your dreams. Well, all this happened in 10 minutes because I was so tired, I think. But I sweated that much out of my pores instantly in those 10 minutes somehow that the sheets were soaked, and it was just me there by myself. And I didn't pee the bed, I don't. And it was like somebody threw a 5 gallon bucket of water on me, and I wake up like confused because I'm like, where did all this water come from, and what is this? And I realized my skin's soaked. My forehead's got like a whole rag's worth on its head still pouring out, and I'm like breathing hard
Well,
because
I'm
all
glad
that
you didn't.
happened.
I'm glad you didn't pee yourself, James.
Right? No, I mean,
That's still awful. How's your neck? Is your neck at least better, dude?
oh yeah, I'm doing a lot better. I'm slowly getting it to where it's finally a lot of physical therapy, a lot of stretching at home, and learning new. I'm probably gonna write a book if I completely solve myself of it because it's been me more than the doctors, I think, that have fixed myself. So maybe it'll
You should
help
write a book about
somebody.
this. You should write a book about
That's,
this encounter
that's what
too,
I'm
man.
saying.
It will.
I don't know if I got a lot of it written down just in case something did happen to me for my kids. But I've told them
Oh
about
wow,
this,
man.
not to scare them because my grandpa raised me, and it's like he would have told me anything he could if it was out there to give me a heads up or a warning. So I told them
Yeah, man.
what happened to me, not to scare them once they got old enough, and showed them exactly where this stuff happened because I had a pretty intense Bigfoot encounter after this one. So
Okay,
that
we'll do
should have
that
made me
one.
pee the bed.
If you're ever
Yeah.
willing to come back on the show, we'll do that one on another show. What do you think about that, James?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, if like you told me to go over it all, I could go over it all real, not like that, but like over everything that's happened to me real quick. But you wouldn't get far because I've
No,
had a lot happen
we'll
to me.
do that one at a later date because this owl, this paranormal owl,
Yeah,
it's
it's got.
I have
I'm
to
leaning
digest
towards.
this.
I'm leaning towards it has to be paranormal. You don't know how many nights I've sat out there with my Ruger loaded like my rifle and was waiting for round two because it was going to play out different. If bullets mattered and it could stop it, it was going to play out different. Just because I was ready, and yeah, it was like even if I would have had a gun then, I'm positive that even if though I couldn't have run, it would have had like 3 bullets that could have pulled out of its head because I wouldn't have missed. Like I say, I'm bad.
How big do you think the head was? You said it was two beach
Um,
balls with that white that goes around.
well, no, the rings around its eyes were the size of volleyballs, and there was space in between these rings. So the eyes were around softball size, if maybe not a hair bigger. Then it had these rings that were bigger than the eyes, that were 2 or 3 inches wide, that were around the whole, like a camera would have a shutter, is what it kind of looked like to me. These
Okay.
rings were these rings were maybe 3 inches wide, maybe a hair more if if they got measured on this one. I don't know if the babies were gonna eventually be as big as this one. I don't know if these all came from somewhere else and that's the way the other ones look and the big one's just a big one. I don't know. I tried to look and learn as much as I could, and there really isn't nothing out there in dinosaur owl species or anyone finding an old fossil. I think they found one in Cuba that was over 4 foot tall, but it was a walking owl. It didn't come off the ground to do anything, but it was 4 foot
Holy
tall.
shit, dude.
But I know
Yeah.
I was answering something and I forgot because I went sidetracked.
No, it's no,
Um,
no. Where I probably sidetracked you. Don't worry about it. We're
um,
talking about
uh,
the next time you come on. We will go into other encounters. We can
other
also,
stuff, right? No, but there was something about the owl that
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I
it'll
got
come up.
sidetracked there.
Just when you get a chance, write it down,
Right.
and then when you come back on, I'll have you on in, I don't know, maybe a month, something like that.
Yeah, that's fine. It'll probably come to me back in a minute or so, just because. Oh, what were we talking about? We were talking about the rings around its eyes and
Oh
how
yeah,
big its
yeah,
head might be.
yeah.
Um,
Yes.
I wasn't putting my hands like if I went to hug a tree, I wasn't putting my hands and getting them to connect all the way around its head if the feathers weren't fluffy. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
If
right,
they were
right.
fluffy, I'm not sure what would happen. Maybe I could get my arms all the way around them and like hug it, but it looked like there was no way I was squeezing the head, getting them to connect, and definitely not the belly round part, like the area around its belly where it got real wide. There's no
Yeah.
way I was going. It was like you'd be lucky if two people held hands, adults, and got around it. Is the way it looked. Like I don't know
Dude,
if it was getting extra
no
fluffy
wonder
or
you had
what.
all these dreams. No
It
wonder
was
you're getting skin hard for
traumatizing.
you.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like it sucks to write it all out, but when I was younger, I'm part of Apache Indian. My father isn't. My mother is, but I was having the same nightmare over and over, where I'd wake up like somewhere now that I know what looks like out west, like up in the mountaintops or something, where there's still trees, and I'd wake up next to a fire and look for my dad or my grandpa, and there'd be a wolf. The first time he was sitting down, like a German Shepherd would look sitting down,
Uh
and
huh.
he was on the other side of the fire, but he was back some, and I would look for my grandpa or my dad, and then I would run towards the pine trees because I knew that was my only. I was a climber when I was a kid. I'd climb anything and get in trouble, get way up there, and I would run to these pine trees because I knew they were my safety, and I would climb up, and then the wolf would be right behind me, sometimes smacking the bottom of my shoe with its foot or its nose, like barely escaping it, and those happen sometimes every other month. Sometimes they would give me a 3 4 month period, but they would come and I would tell my dad about it, and he told me that I'm part of Apache Indian. Maybe it has something to do with my
It
bloodline, and
probably is, dude. It
that's why
most
I'm having these
likely is.
dreams.
That's an incredible connection that you're making there. That's an incredible connection. I'm going to
Well,
look
he
into the
made that
folklore of the
and told
Apaches.
me, right? He made that and told me as a kid, and I was pretty intelligent kid, treated kind of like an adult, especially if I messed up and did something wrong. They knew that I knew better,
Yes.
but I'd have these dreams and I'd come to him because he'd still be up or whatever in the night, and I don't know if he gave me the insomnia or what, but he told me that might be related, and he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you or anything. And I continued to have them sometimes 3 times a year, sometimes 6 times a year, and it wouldn't be. And then it got to the point where it flustered or frustrated me so much that I knew I was going to have to run to the tree when I woke up there. It was always the same spot where I woke up. I wasn't looking for my dad or my grandpa after the first time because I knew what the situation was and how important it was to get to the tree. And the last time I had it, I think I was like 7 or 8, and I acted like I was going to run to the trees, and I picked up a log out of the fire and jumped over the fire, and he wasn't right there, but I was kind of cutting him off from chasing me with the log, and he ran away, and I never had the dream again. It stopped right there. Like I finally changed something in a dream I had over and over and over, the same
Wow.
outcome or consequences. And that's what it took. Like me, I don't know if it was me facing my fears or me just changing the outcome for it to go away. So I don't know if other people are out there having repeated nightmares, but maybe changing the outcome does something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've had my friend on. He was talking about that too, where he had the deep depression, and he was stuck down in the bottom of this, where like it was like one of those old storm cellar kind of things where you used to put the coal down in to go underneath the old houses, and he was trying to climb back out, and the stairs fell, and he heard a
Oh man.
voice in his head saying, he was saying, "Help me, help me." He said, "Well, you're the only person that can help yourself." He pulled himself out of the
Wow.
basement, and his depression went away. So
Wow. That is
yeah,
incredible.
dudes. Yeah, man. So, dude, I got to get you up out of here.
Yeah.
Thanks so
It's
much for
been
sharing
fun.
this with
Thank
me.
you
This
for
has been
listening.
it's been incredible, man. I feel like you make me want to look into this, and this is for real. I'm definitely going to look into them
Well,
and
thank
find that
you. I
thing like
hope
I was
you.
telling you.
That's another few reasons why I'll tell strangers that are actually interested in it, because it's like maybe they'll ask me something that I never thought of, or see something that I never thought of or picked up on, and
Right. You really want to
maybe
know what the
I'll.
hell this is. I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
man.
never seen him again. I heard other people seeing him again. I always watch my back, and then even after the Bigfoot one, I didn't even want to go outside the house. I didn't even want to go in the yard at night. I was just like,
Okay, all right,
okay.
Edo. All right, Edo. Let's go. Let's put him on a cliffhanger. That's fantastic. Well, I'll definitely have you back on for that one because you're very good at
Oh, no
recounting what
doubt.
you've seen. Do me a favor, stick around in the green room. Just I'm going to bump you off. You just
Okay.
stay there because I got to check the recordings, and I'll talk to you after the show real quick. Okay, buddy. Thanks
All
for
right.
coming on.
Thanks, man. Yep. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Wow. So I don't even know. I think we touched all bases with that one. If you enjoy stories like this, if you want to come on and tell me your encounter, it might be something where someone else doesn't believe you as well. Don't be afraid to come and tell us over here at the Eye of Jupiter. Go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. And remember, we are the Eye and we are aware. And I love you all. Later.
You have been listening to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. Remember, if you have any strange occurrences or stories or anything you'd like to share, please drop me an email at theeyejupiterpodcast@gmail.com and you'll be on the show. And remember, we are the Eye and we are aware. Thank you.